This video is about Kaguya escapes demon but trap appears. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the twilight of the world, where the celestial heavens kissed the horizon, a haunting melody echoed through the valleys of Uri. This was a land where gods wove their influence, shaping the fates of mortals, and where shadows danced with the whispers of the past. It was here that Kaguya, the radiant princess of the moon, found herself ensnared in a perilous web spun by ancient malevolence. Once a celestial being revered for her beauty and grace, Kaguya had descended to earth, drawn by the allure of the mortal realm. She had danced among the flowers, a laugh cascading like the shimmering light of stars. But serenity was fleeting, time had a way of altering destinies, and soon she attracted the attention of Chiraku, the demon lord of shadows, known for his insatiable hunger for power. Chiraku, a grotesque figure with obsidian skin and eyes like burning coals, sought to claim Kaguya's essence, believing her luminous spirit would grant him dominion over both heaven and earth. He unleashed a tempest upon the land, raising his monstrous army of shadow demons to capture her and extinguish her light. On a fateful night, under the pale glow of a crescent moon, Kaguya found herself cornered in the whispering woods, a cursed forest where the trees murmured secrets. She sprinted through the thicket, her heart pounding like a war drum, weaving between gnarled roots and grasping branches. Beneath her feet the ground trembled, and the air crackled with dark magic. "Cursed wraiths," she whispered, her voice hoarse yet defiant. She summoned her powers, illuminating her path with a luminous ore. The shadows shrank back, hissing as her brilliance pierced their veil. Yet Chiraku was relentless. With a roar that echoed like thunder, he emerged from the depths of the forest, surrounded by twisted creatures that thrived within darkness. "You cannot escape me, Kaguya," he bellowed, his voice a blend of malice and hunger. "Your light is mine to claim." With a swift intake of breath, Kaguya conjured a barrier of light, pushing back the encroaching darkness. "I will never belong to you, demon. I am destined to shine." The clash of light and shadow ignited the air, creating a spectacular display that painted the night sky. The ground shook as Kaguya unleashed a torrent of radiant energy, forcing Chiraku to stagger back. The demons shrieked, recoiling from the brilliance that emanated from her heart. But the demon lord's fury was boundless. In a single, sweeping motion, he summoned a legion of nightmarish creatures, their eyes glinting with malice. "If you wish to resist, then let the very earth bleed," he commanded, and the forest erupted into chaos. Roots snaked into the air, thorns blossomed like deadly flowers, and shadows elongated, grasping at Kaguya. In that moment of anguish, Kaguya felt the weight of her lineage, the blood of the moon pulsing fiercely within her veins. She knew she was destined to confront this darkness, not just for herself, but for all who dwelled in fear under Chiraku's reign. "By the light of the moon, I will stand against you," Kaguya cried, her voice strong and unwavering. With a fierce determination, she began to weave her magic, drawing strength from the stars above. Celestial energy surged through her, illuminating her form until she became a beacon of radiance, a vision of hope amidst despair. Chiraku, sensing the shift in power, seethed with rage. "You think your light can vanquish me? Taste the bitterness of despair." He unleashed a torrent of shadows, a wave of darkness meant to suffocate her essence. But Kaguya remained unyielding, her heart a drum of hope as her light clashed against the demon's wrath. The forest roared, trees buckling under the strain of their epic confrontation. Kaguya leapt into the air, a brilliant figure against the night, spinning and twirling as she darted through the shadows. With each graceful maneuver, her light sliced through the darkness, illuminating the path ahead. Just when victory seemed within her grasp, a horrific screech echoed through the woods as the ground beneath her cracked open, revealing an abyss that roared with hunger. The pit of despair. Kaguya gasped, recognizing the demon Estrap. A bottomless chasm filled with swirling darkness. It was a prison for souls, the place where hope withered and light was devoured. With a final surge of determination, she flared her wings of starlight, resisting the sinister pull of the pit. But Chiraku's laughter vibrated through the air, a cruel mockery of her struggle. "Futile, princess, your light cannot pierce the heart of the abyss." Kaguya's wings flapped fiercely, propelling her upward, but with each moment her energy waned. She had to act swiftly. Calling upon the ancient wisdom of her celestial ancestors, she summoned the Moonlight Veil, a protective barrier that could shield her from the darkness. "By the grace of the moon, I shall prevail," she shouted defiantly as she wrapped herself in shimmering light. With a burst of energy, she spiraled into the air, leaving trails of luminescence in her wake. She soared higher into the sky, away from the encroaching abyss. But Chiraku, filled with wrath, summoned a final attack. Tendrils of darkness lashed out, aiming for Kaguya, hungry to drag her back into the depths. The shadows called around her, whispering sweet promises of power and despair. "Join me, and we will reign together." Kaguya clenched her fists, summoning her inner strength. "I will not succumb, I am the light in the darkness." Her voice rang out like a clarion call, echoing through the realms. Channeling her energy, she unleashed a forceful wave of moonlight, unraveling the dark tendrils. The explosion of light illuminated the forest, banishing the shadows momentarily. Kaguya seized the opportunity and soared above the tree line, patching through the disturbances of the night. The stars twinkled brightly, urging her on as she navigated toward the heavens. Yet her victory was bittersweet. As she ascended, the remnants of Chiraku's dark magic lingered like a storm cloud, swelling and gathering, plotting her downfall. As she reached the edge of the celestial realm, the weight of the battle tugged at her essence, pulling her back toward the cursed forest. Suddenly, a shimmering portal appeared before Kaguya, beckoning her with a whisper of hope. "To the realm of the gods I shall flee," she declared, knowing the divine beings could lend her strength. But as she leapt through, shadows clawed at her heels, trying to drag her back into darkness. Inside the portal, a blinding light enveloped her, and with it, the familiar warmth of celestial energies. But as Kaguya emerged into the realm of the gods, she found herself entangled in a new peril. The gods, guardians of fate and destiny, had sensed the disruption, and a council had been summoned. As she stood before them, surrounded by divine radiance, Kaguya felt the weight of their judgment upon her. "You have ventured into the realm of mortals," Kaguya spoke Tsukuyomi, the moon god, his voice echoing like a celestial choir. "You must face the consequences of your defiance." Fear gripped her heart, but she stood firm. "I was fighting for my freedom, for the light that guides us all." The gods deliberated, their expressions a tapestry of concern and wrath. "You have drawn the ire of Chiraku, and the shadows will not rest until you are consumed," spoke Inari, the goddess of the harvest, her eyes filled with sorrow. As Kaguya pleaded her case, shadows twisted and coiled around the heavens, a manifestation of Chiraku's relentless pursuit. The council gasped, realizing the demon had followed her through the portal and now threatened not just her, but all of creation. "Prepare for battle," Tsukuyomi commanded, summoning his celestial warriors, while Kaguya felt a surge of hope. Perhaps this newfound alliance with the gods could be her salvation. She steeled herself, ready to fight beside them to protect the light of the universe. But lurking in the shadows, a deeper betrayal awaited. A faction among the gods, envious of Kaguya's light and power, conspired to strip her of her essence. As the battle loomed, Kaguya remained unaware of the treachery that threatened to unravel everything she held dear. With the clash of celestial forces echoing through the realms, the fate of Kaguya, the princess of the moon, hung precariously in the balance. Would she find the strength to overcome the darkness that sought to consume her, or would the shadows ultimately claim her light? As the cosmic battle raged, destiny would weave its intricate threads, binding Kaguya to trials yet unseen. The echoes of honor and tragedy rang loud, and through the storm, her perseverance would be tested, leading her down a path forged by valor and sacrifice. The clash of celestial forces filled the air with thunderous roars as Kaguya stood resolutely within the realm of the gods. She could feel the palpable tension, the divine energies crackling like lightning as warriors prepared for battle against the encroaching shadows of Chiraku. Her heart raced, the burden of her lineage weighing heavily upon her, yet within her spirit a flicker of hope ignited. "Gather your strength, celestial warriors," Tsukuyomi bellowed, his voice commanding an army of radiant beings to rise beside him. Their armor gleamed like the sun, adorned with ethereal patterns that danced like constellations. "We stand not only to protect our realm, but to uphold the very fabric of light that sustains our existence." As the warriors assembled, Kaguya felt a surge of camaraderie. She had once danced beneath the full moon, unaware of the weight of her destiny. Now, she stood shoulder to shoulder with gods, ready to confront the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. The shadows writhed at the edge of the celestial realm, their sinister forms looming ever closer. Chiraku emerged from the darkness, a towering figure clad in swirling shadows, his eyes burning brightly with malevolence. "You think you can hide from me, Kaguya?" he hissed, his voice a chilling wind that pierced through the celestial gathering. "I will tear this realm apart until I claim what is rightfully mine." With a wave of his hand, he summoned a legion of nightmare creatures, grotesque figures that twisted and morphed, their eyes glinting with hunger. They surged forward, a tide of darkness, intent on obliterating the luminous beings before them. "Prepare yourselves, sir," Tsukuyomi commanded, his crescent-shaped sword gleaming with moonlight. "Fight with honor, for the fate of light shall not be extinguished while we draw breath." Kaguya, drawing upon the depths of her celestial abilities, raised her hands, summoning a veil of moonlight that enveloped her allies. The light surged forth, galvanizing the celestial warriors as they charged into the fray, each strike echoing with the power of the cosmos. "Together, we shall banish the shadows," Kaguya cried, her voice rising above the chaos. Channeling her energy, she unleashed a radiant burst that illuminated the battlefield, blinding the demons momentarily. The light felt like an extension of her very soul as she reveled in its brilliance. As the celestial warriors clashed with the demons, the skies erupted in a cacophony of light and shadow, a celestial ballet of sword and spell. Kaguya darted through the ranks of her allies, her movements fluid and graceful, casting moonbeams that sliced through the darkness, liberating the trapped essence of those ensnared by Jiraku's fiend. But chaos soon enveloped her. Jiraku, enraged by the disruption of his plans, unleashed a torrent of dark magic that whipped through the battlefield like a tempest. "You are but a fleeting spark in the abyss. Feel the despair of true darkness," he roared, and shadows engulfed the warriors one by one. Kaguya watched in horror as one of her allies was consumed, his cries silent. "No, we cannot falter," she shouted, clenching her fists. "We must fight. Our light is stronger than his darkness." With a fierce determination, she summoned the moonlight veil again, wrapping it around her like a radiant cocoon. It pulsed with energy, feeding off her will to survive, to protect. "For every soul lost, I shall shine brighter," she vowed, her eyes shining with resolve. Amidst the chaos, she spotted a figure lurking in the shadows, a small faction of gods, their faces twisted by jealousy. "Why do you fight, Kaguya? The light you possess should belong to us," one of them spat, their voice laced with venom. "Your greed blinds you. This battle is not just for me, but for all." Kaguya retorted, her voice firm. "If you dare betray the light, then you shall feel the wrath of my ancestors." But before she could act, dark tendrils lashed out from the shadows, coiling around her limbs and holding her fast. Panic surged as she struggled against the bindings, feeling the remnants of Jiraku's malevolence seep into her very essence. "No, I will not be shackled by darkness," she screamed, channeling her magic. With a sudden burst of will, she shattered the dark tendrils, sending sparks of light skating around her. The shadows hissed in anger, and Kaguya took flight into the sky, her wings of starlight unfurling behind her like a magnificent tapestry. "I will become the storm," she declared defiantly, spinning in the air and unleashing a cyclone of moonlight. The radiant wind struck the demons, scattering them like ashes before the breath of the cosmos. The celestial warriors rallied at her side, inspired by her bravery. They surged forward, their combined might forging a path toward Jiraku. "Face me," Kaguya shouted, her voice piercing through the din of battle. "I will not let your darkness consume this realm." She darted forward, her sword glinting as she struck at the heart of the shadow. Jiraku unleashed a howl of fury, the sound reverberating through the sky. "You are a fool, princess. You cannot fathom the depths of my power." He summoned a vortex of pure darkness, swirling around him like a tempest, intent on obliterating everything in its path. Kaguya, feeling the weight of destiny upon her shoulders, knew the moment demanded sacrifice. "I will not falter," she cried, channeling the light of the moon and the whispers of her ancestors. "By the power within me, I shall shatter your darkness." With a final surge of energy, Kaguya plunged into the vortex, a body enveloped in a blinding light of ethereal brilliance. The clash between her radiance and Jiraku's darkness created a shockwave that rippled through the celestial realm, illuminating the battle with a brilliance that had never been seen before. The forces collided, and Kaguya felt herself expanding into the vastness of the cosmos. "For every soul lost, I honor your sacrifice," she cried, drawing upon the strength of those who had fought alongside her. The luminescence surged, pushing back against the abyss, forcing Jiraku to recoil. Yet deep within her, she sensed the treachery of the other gods. They whispered among themselves, plotting to seize her essence amidst the chaos. "Foolish girl, the light belongs to us now," they hiss, their jealousy fanned by the flames of battle. But Kaguya had faced darkness before she had faced despair and emerged stronger. "You shall not claim my light," she shouted, her voice echoing with the fury of the moon. She gathered the remaining warriors, igniting their spirits, the unity overriding the treachery that sought to tear them apart. As the battle raged, shadows clashed against light, creating a tempest of emotions: fear, hope, anger, and love entwined in a furious dance. The warriors fought valiantly, inspired by Kaguya's determination as they struck against the demons and the envious gods alike. In this moment, Kaguya felt a connection to every being that had fought for the light. She summoned the essence of the fallen, weaving together their spirits with her own. "We are one together, we shall rise." With a final cry, she unleashed a wave of pure light that rippled across the battlefield, banishing darkness and treachery in its wake. The gods who sought to claim her essence found themselves overwhelmed by the combined might of those who rallied behind her. The shadows screamed as they were consumed by the radiant light. Jiraku's form twisted in agony, his power waning as Kaguya and her warriors surged forward, a united front against the malevolence that had plagued them for so long. "Begone, Jiraku!" Kaguya shouted, her voice ringing with authority. "You have no place in this realm." With one final surge of energy, she allowed the light to engulf him, banishing him back into the abyss from which he had come. As the echoes of battle faded, Kaguya stood at the center of a newfound peace. The celestial realm shimmered around her, a tapestry woven from the sacrifices made. The gods, humbled by the courage she had displayed, lowered their heads in acknowledgement of her strength. Tsukuyomi stepped forward, his expression shifting from judgment to respect. "You have faced the darkness and emerged victorious, Kaguya. The light you bear is a gift and a burden, but you have proven yourself worthy." Kaguya bowed her head, feeling the weight of her responsibility settle upon her. "I fought not just for myself, but for all who dwell in the light. We must stand together to protect what we hold dear." In that moment, a new purpose ignited within her. She would be the guardian of the realms, the bridge between the celestial and mortal, as she vowed to protect the fragile balance of light and darkness. As the stars twinkled brightly above, Kaguya felt the warmth of hope fill her heart. The shadows could come again, but she would stand vigilant, ready to fight for the dawn that awaited beyond the horizon. In the grand tapestry of destiny, her journey. As the remnants of the battle settled, a haunting stillness enveloped the celestial realm. Kaguya stood at the precipice, gazing down at the aftermath of the clash between light and shadow. The warriors of the gods, once filled with vigor, now bore the weight of loss and weariness. Yet amid the silence, the echo of hope rang louder than despair. "Princess Kaguya," Tsukuyomi began, his voice a gentle breeze, "you have triumphed against darkness, but our victory may be short-lived if we do not address the treachery that festers among us." His gaze swept over the assembly of gods, their auras dimmed by the shame of their envy. Kaguya nodded, her heart heavy with understanding. "I have sensed it too. Their greed has twisted their honor. We must confront them, not just for ourselves but for the integrity of our realm." Her voice resonated, a beacon of courage amidst uncertainty. Suddenly, a sharp hiss sliced through the air as the traitorous faction of gods, cloaked in shadow, emerged from the fringes of the celestial gathering. They stepped forward, a serpentine group whose eyes glimmered with malefic intent, their expressions a mask of disdain. "You think you can stand against us, Kaguya?" One of them, a god named Asak, sneered, his voice dripping with venom. "You've merely postponed the inevitable. The light you wield should be ours." Kaguya felt a shiver run down her spine, but she held her ground. "You would betray your own kind for power? You've witnessed the devastation Jiraku sought to bring. Have you learned nothing?" Asak's laughter echoed through the realm, a cruel melody. "Strength lies in dominance, dear princess. Power is meant to be seized, not shared." He waved his hand, and shadows erupted, swirling around him like a storm. "And we will seize your light. Stand down!" Tsukuyomi thundered, raising his sword, the crescent blade glinting with moonlight. "You have turned your backs on the very essence of our existence. This is your final warning." But the traitors would not be deterred. With a visceral roar, they unleashed their dark magic, tendrils of shadow racing toward Kaguya and the assembled warriors. The air crackled with tension. Kaguya knew the struggle ahead would demand every ounce of her strength and valor. "Celestial warriors, rally to me!" Kaguya cried, summoning the light within her. She raised her arms, conjuring a radiant barrier that shimmered like the dawn. "Together, we stand against this darkness." As the barrier materialized, the shadows crashed against it like waves against a shore, and Kaguya felt the force reverberate through her spirit. "We will not be divided," she declared, her eyes blazing with determination. The celestial warriors surged forward, invigorated by Kaguya's light. They clashed with the traitorous gods, swords of moonlight meeting darkened blades, creating a symphony of sparks that filled the air. Kaguya moved among them, her own sword drawn, its brilliance shimmering like stars in the night sky. "Feel the power of the light," she shouted, striking down a shadow-clad warrior with a sweeping arc of moonbeam. The demon recoiled, its form disintegrating into wisps of darkness that faded into nothingness. But Asak snarled, rallying his followers. "We will crush your hope, Kaguya." With a flick of his wrist, he summoned a vortex of shadows that spiraled toward the warriors, intent on consuming their very souls. Kaguya's heart raced as she felt the impending dread wash over her. "No," she shouted, her voice a clarion call amid the chaos. "We will not falter." Channeling the strength of her fallen comrades, Kaguya conjured a radiant shield that expanded outward, deflecting the sinister magic. Together, she urged as the warriors pressed forward, their spirits ignited by her resolve. The clash intensified, the battlefield transforming into a tempest of light and shadow. Kaguya dove and spun, her movements a breathtaking dance of combat as she struck with precision and grace. Each blow resonated with purpose, illuminated by the memories of those who had fought alongside her. Treacherous faction began to falter, their unity unraveling beneath the weight of Kaguya's indomitable spirit. "You think mere light can extinguish our power?" Asak bellowed, desperation creeping into his voice as he faced Kaguya's brilliance. "You are mistaken," Kaguya replied, her voice unwavering. "It is not just my light, it is the strength of every soul who believes in the balance of our world." She unleashed a surge of moonlight, a torrent that engulfed Asak and his followers, dispelling their darkness and exposing their weakness. As their shadows dissipated, Kaguya felt an overwhelming surge of triumph. "You will answer for your treachery, Asak," she declared, stepping forward. "The light will prevail." But darkness once more crept upon her. From the shadows, Akira, the goddess of deception and manipulation, emerged, her expression twisted with malice. "You may have won this battle, Kaguya, but the war for dominance is far from over." With a wave of her hand, Akira summoned phantom illusions of the fallen warriors. The forms flickered between the veil of life and death, their anguished faces a haunting reminder of sacrifice. "Can you truly stand against the ghosts of your past?" she taunted, her voice like silk laced with poison. Kaguya's breath caught in her throat, a wave of uncertainty crashing over her. She felt the weight of her memories, the faces of those she had lost, their voices pleading for her to remember them. "No," she shouted, shaking her head to dispel the illusions. "You will not use my pain against me." She steeled herself, drawing upon the light that surged within her, illuminating the phantoms with a brilliant glow. "You are not my past. You are a part of my strength," she proclaimed, her voice ringing out like a bell. With renewed determination, Kaguya unleashed a radiant beam of light that shattered the illusions, scattering them like mist. The echoes of despair faded, replaced by the memories of hope and unity that had driven her to fight. Akira hissed in frustration, gripping her hands as shadows recoiled from Kaguya's brilliance. "You may have dispelled the ghosts, but I will not fall so easily." She conjured dark tendrils, aiming to ensnare Kaguya once more. "Enough." Tsukuyomi interjected, his voice booming with celestial authority. He raised his sword, channeling the power of the moon into a blinding flash. "We unite against this darkness. No more shall we allow envy to corrode our strength." Together, the celestial warriors rallied once more, their spirits ignited by the combined light of Kaguya and Tsukuyomi. They surged forward, uniting their powers into a singular force that struck with the fury of 1,000 stars. "Forward!" Kaguya shouted, her voice a beacon of hope as they charged toward Akira, the very embodiment of treachery. The shadows writhed in terror, recoiling from the onslaught of light. "I will not be defeated." Akira screeched, but her voice trembled under the weight of their united front. The radiant energy surged forth, enveloping her, consuming the darkness until only whispers remained. As the battlefield fell silent, the treacherous gods were banished from the celestial realm, their ambitions scattered like ashes in the wind. Kaguya stood amidst her allies, the light surrounding them a testament to their unity and fortitude. "We have prevailed today," Tsukuyomi spoke, his tone filled with reverence. "But remember, the shadows may rise again. We must remain vigilant." Kaguya nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude for those who stood with her. "We will forge a new path, one where hope and light guide our way. Together, we will protect the realms from the darkness that seeks to consume them." As the stars twinkled above, Kaguya felt a sense of purpose solidify within her. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she would not walk it alone. With the gods at her side, she would honor the fallen, protect the light, and ensure that the whispers of despair would never overtake the sound of hope. In the depths of her heart, Kaguya's spirit burned brightly. She was not just the princess of the moon, she was a guardian of the realms, a harbinger of light, destined to illuminate the shadows that dared threaten her world. And as she stood amidst her allies, the dawn of a new era broke upon the horizon, a promise of hope etched within the tapestry of fate. The dawn rose in a cascade of golden rays, illuminating the celestial realm where Kaguya stood. The air shimmered with residual energy from the earlier battle, echoes of her newfound allies' determination lingering like a warm caress. She gazed at the horizon, a canvas painted with hope and uncertainty, aware that the shadows of Chiraku's treachery still loomed beyond the veil of light. "Today, we stand victorious," Tsukuyomi proclaimed, his voice resonating like a distant thunderclap, rousing the celestial warriors. But our enemies are not vanquished, they linger. Plotting their return, we must fortify our resolve. His words, both a reminder and a rallying cry, compelled Kaguya to step forward, her heart fueling her spirit. Together, we forge through darkness. Together, we shall prepare for what lies ahead, Kaguya declared, her voice ringing out across the realm. The gods and warriors turned their gazes upon her, their expressions a tapestry woven with admiration and fierce determination. Yet, even as they celebrated their triumph over treachery, Kaguya sensed a deeper malevolence brewing within the shadows. A darkness more sinister than Chiraku-S had begun to stir an ancient power that thrived on discord and betrayal. The harmony we've restored is fragile, she warned, casting her gaze among her allies. We have not yet faced the true source of this darkness. Tsukuyomi nodded, his expression serious. Your instincts serve you well, Kaguya. We must unearth the roots of this evil before it ensnares us all. Before another word could be spoken, a tremor reverberated through the celestial realm, shaking the very foundation of their gathering. Shadows coiled and writhed at the edges of their sanctuary, whispering forgotten curses. Kaguya's heart raced, the ominous shift in the atmosphere palpable. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a colossal beast with scales as black as the void, its eyes glowing with malevolent fury. It was Kurozai, the primordial serpent of despair, an ancient creature whose very essence thrived on chaos. The air crackled with dark energy as he rumbled forth. You think you can extinguish the embers of despair? I am the harbinger of your ruin. With a roar that shook the heavens, Kurozai unleashed a torrent of shadows, tendrils snaking toward Kaguya and the assembled gods. Death! Kaguya shouted, raising her arms, conjuring a barrier of radiant light that illuminated the encroaching darkness. The barrier flared brightly, absorbing the initial onslaught, but Kurozai's power was immense. Celestial warriors fight. Tsukuyomi commanded, raising his crescent sword high. This darkness shall not claim our light. The warriors surged forward, their weapons glinting with divine energy, ready to confront the monstrous serpent. Kaguya joined the fray, her heart pounding with fervor as she soared through the sky, weaving around the shadows that sought to entrap her. A burst of moonlight streamed from her hands, slicing through the darkness and illuminating Kurozai's hideous form. We must strike at his heart, she called out, her voice echoing with urgency. The celestial warriors rallied, striding forward, their resolve unwavering. Tsukuyomi led the charge, his sword cleaving through the shadows, while Kaguya unleashed a barrage of moonbeams that pierced the darkness surrounding Kurozai. Light shall prevail, she shouted, propelling herself into the air, spinning gracefully as she transformed her energy into a spiraling vortex of radiance. Yet Kurozai was undeterred, his eyes narrowing as he shifted his focus toward Kaguya. Foolish princess, you think your light can conquer despair? He snarled, coiling back and lunging forward with terrifying speed. Kaguya barely managed to evade his grasp, the air snapping with danger as she twisted away, her wings unfurling behind her like a tapestry of stars. The serpent's tail lashed out, crashing into the ground where Kaguya had stood moments before, sending shockwaves reverberating through the celestial gathering. We cannot allow him to divide us, Tsukuyomi urged, rallying the warriors. Together, we shall pierce through this darkness. As the warriors regrouped, Kaguya felt a surge of determination wash over her. Channel your strength, let your light intertwine with mine, she cried, holding her arms aloft. The celestial beings rallied together, their auras merging into a brilliant tapestry of light, encasing Kaguya in a protective cocoon. By the love of our fallen, we stand together, she shouted, her voice resonant with power. Kurozai recoiled, sensing the united force before him, the shadows trembling in his wake. With a fierce determination, Kaguya thrust her arms forward, channeling a concentrated beam of moonlight that struck Kurozai squarely in the chest. The serpent howled in agony, the energy forcing him back, but he quickly retaliated, summoning a tempest of shadows that swelled around him like a furious storm. You think you can dispel me? He bellowed, his voice reverberating like thunder across the heavens. I am despair incarnate, I will consume you all. Kaguya's heart raced, the weight of his words pressing against her spirit. We will not be consumed by despair, she shouted defiantly, her resolve igniting the flames of hope within her. Together, we shall transcend. With a fierce battle cry, she propelled herself into the heart of the storm, drawing upon the light of her allies. The shadows lashed out, seeking to ensnare her, but Kaguya spun through them, her movements a dance of grace and defiance. As she twirled, she unleashed waves of moonlit energy, each strike empowering her allies, illuminating the dark tempest that surrounded them. Tsukuyomi and the celestial warriors struck with renewed vigor, their blows echoing like thunderclaps as they joined her in the whirlwind of battle. For the light, they shouted, their voices weaving a tapestry of unity that surged through the chaos. But Kurazai was relentless, his eyes glinting with fury. "You cannot extinguish me. I shall rise again, and when I do, you will know despair like never before." With a final flick of his tail, he unleashed a wave of darkness that enveloped the battlefield, threatening to consume all. "Now," Kaguya shouted, her voice slicing through the darkness. "Channel your light into me." The celestial warriors raised their weapons high, pouring their strength into Kaguya, who stood at the center of the tempest. The energy surged through her, igniting her spirit as she transformed into a beacon of blinding light. "By the power of the moon, I will shine brighter than your shadows," she declared, her voice a clarion call. With one final surge of energy, Kaguya unleashed a torrent of moonlight that erupted from her, cascading through the darkness like an unstoppable tide. The shadows shrieked in terror as they were consumed by the brilliance, Kurazai's form twisting and writhing amidst the radiant surge. "Ubidan, Kurazai!" Kaguya shouted, pouring every ounce of her essence into the light. "You shall not claim this realm." The serpent howled, his body dissolving into tendrils of darkness that faded against the brilliance of Kaguya's light. The shadows screeched, dissipating into oblivion, leaving behind only the echoes of their malice. As the light faded, Kaguya collapsed to her knees, breathless yet triumphant. The celestial warriors gathered around her, their expressions a blend of exhaustion and reverence. "You did it, Kaguya," one of them exclaimed, tears of joy glistening in their eyes. But even in victory, Kaguya felt the remnants of unease. "The shadows will return," she warned, her voice trembling but resolute. "We must remain vigilant. This darkness will not rest until it claims us all." Tsukayomi knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You have shown us the power of unity. Together, we will build a shield against the darkness, a sanctuary of hope and strength. We will not fall to despair." The warriors nodded, a renewed sense of purpose igniting within them. They gathered around Kaguya, their auras brightening the space with hope. "We will fight for our light. We will protect the balance," they declared, their voices woven together in a chorus of determination. As they stood together, Kaguya felt a surge of courage swell within her heart. She was no longer just the radiant princess of the moon. She was a guardian, a protector of realms, destined to illuminate the shadows and ensure that hope would never fade. In that moment of unity, a new dawn broke over the celestial realm, the vibrant colors of light washing away the remnants of despair. Kaguya looked out at her allies, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "Together, we will forge a new destiny," she vowed, her voice resolute. "For as long as we stand united, the light will burn bright against the darkness." And with that promise, the celestial warriors turned their gaze toward the horizon, ready to face